I've got 2017 Mazda 6 with a 2.2 Skyactiv engine on it. Was recovered in as a non-runner. Engine starting and cutting out. As you can see, so scanned it. I'll see what's still active on it now. So I've actually cleared the codes on this already. See if I can bring these up on the file manager. So there is a screenshot that I took initially, and it's there. So I've got DPF restrictions, turbocharger under boost, map sensor range, and turbocharger boost pressure not detected. And a whole bunch of other DPF restriction codes. So I would be thinking that the DPF blockage is what's stopping the engine from starting, and that's going to be a consequential fault from the turbo underboost. Knowing these 2.2 engines, it's probably going to be down to this bypass valve that's faulty, which it normally is, and everything's going to be probably jam-packed full of carbon. So I'm pretty suspicious this is a mechanically blocked exhaust. Yeah, I've done a lot of prep work here, but I'm gonna try and give the exhaust some an opening to breathe. So that is the DPF pressure sensor disconnected. I'm gonna see if this will start and run now with the hoses disconnected. Jesus, you can probably hear that. Serious pressure coming out of that. Fucking hell. Almost nothing at all coming out the tailpipes. I just want to give you an idea actually just how bad this pressure is. Yep. Well, there's a problem. Let's get inside and see what's going on with the turbo. I have stripped out the airbox, the battery tray, a couple other bits and pieces, and I'm just going to take off this boost hose here so that I can check the diverter valve, which is just in behind this vacuum capsule. And so these are really quite common on these. Easiest way I've found to do them in the past anyway is just to take the 212mm that hold this plastic bracket off and disconnect this clip and take the two bolts out of there. These two hose clamps are a nightmare to get into, they're always facing the wrong way. So the 212mm here and the clip here, and this should lift out. Fucking hell, why was that so tight? So, right, moment of truth. And there is the diverter valve lying on the base. So that little disc that you can see in the bottom, that should be attached to the arm at the top there. So that is the root cause of the problem. So let's get that solved and we'll see how bad the DPF is. I've got a feeling this is going to need sent away. I do have some kit to clean them, but I think it's beyond that. So back with the Mazda 6, I've got this little diverter valve repair kit, which has got the actual valve plate, a washer on it, and this little locator pin as well. So I'm going to try and feed that in place, which is going to be easier said than done because it's seriously tight in there. So I've had a good look in the turbo. You can see, I can't really get the camera right in there properly, but both turbos look absolutely fine. Doesn't look like there's any damage at all to them. So I think the original pin and nut and washer are going to be somewhere in the intercooler. So I'm going to try slap this on first. I've got a feeling I'm going to end up having to take the turbo off, but I'm going to give it a try first, and then we'll go looking for those pins. So after a bit of messing about, I think the way to do this is to cable tie up the actuator arm, which folds back the lever inside. I've stuffed some paper towel down the bottom there to stop the pin falling right through, and positioned that in the arm as I pulled it back, so as it's pushed down on top of the paper towels there, it's compressed the paper towels and it's holding the pin in place. The actual valve plate is still sitting against the port at the front there. I'm just about to try and hook that down and sit it on top of the pin, and then I should be able to bolt that up. So that's just used a pair of long nose pliers there, these angled ones, and managed to get that dropped down on top of the threaded pin. So I'm just going to try and feed the nut on top of that now. Fingers crossed. There is the diverter valve back in place now. So I'm just going to call it a day at that just now, because I'm doing this as a favour and it's Christmas Eve. So I'm going to get myself out of here and I'll get the DPF off this after the holidays once I'm back again. We'll see what the damage is in there. But I've got a feeling it's going to have to go away to get cleaned on a rig. But we'll see. We'll see. Right, so I've got the compressor building up just now. I'm going to hook that up to my wee DPF cleaning rig, and we should hopefully be able to pump some chemicals through into that and get the first couple of layers of the carbon broken down on the DPF. So there are all sorts of fancy DPF cleaning rigs, no doubt they do a better job, but this wee setup here that I've had with, it's just like a paint sprayer and a little nozzle here. So it's got a third solution mixed up with boiling hot water and the DPF particulate filter cleaning fluid from Launch, which is really good actually, if I'm honest with you. There's not many of these on the shelf chemicals that I use, but that's really good stuff. So get that pressurised up to 7.5 bar. I'm going to go down the outlet, or the inlet, sorry, of the DPF. And I'll let that solution force down now. It's blocked. And as I'm sure you can see with the colour of the foam coming out of there, it is definitely doing its job. So I'm just going to clamp off that hose. That solution should be jammed inside there, so I'm hoping that that's going to start working its way through the DPF just while I'm sitting here. I've got another job to do. I'm going to let this rest for 30 minutes or something, and then I'm going to back and start the engine, and hopefully by that time it's helped break some of this shit down. Right, it's been about 10 or 15 minutes. I've got a bucket under each tailpipe here because the last time I've done this it got messy. So I'm just going to run this for quite literally 2 seconds to try and force this shit down the exhaust. That's enough for me. And there's the first bit. Right, so I'm just building up the last of this, the induction side of things, like the air filter housing and some of the boost hoses and stuff. So it's all just sat in temporarily, so that everything will work properly basically. But I've not bothered putting the battery trays and everything in because I think I'm going to have to have all this back out. So once I've got this in, I'll run it, let it idle for 10 minutes. Well, let it idle for a minute or two. And we'll see what the pressure out the exhaust's like. So, let's start this. Okay. Go into live data here and see if I can check the ash or the soot accumulation. So if you look at the tailpipe now, you can see that the DPF cleaning solution is starting to do its thing. Yep, you can see these big plumes of blue smoke. So this is it, regenerating the exhaust at a low temperature, as far as I'm led to believe anyway. I'm just going to have a look at these codes again and just see which ones we've got. So turbo boost pressure not detected, mechanical. So I'm honestly not worried about that just now. I think that it's not boosting because the exhaust is completely blocked solid. Yeah, I'll kind of try and clear this out first before I do anything else. So there's definitely some boost there. So I think the exhaust side of the turbo isn't able to actually spool up properly while this is exhaust's blocked, which should then in turn obviously stop the input side from producing any power. So I'm just going to try and take this up the motorway. It's driving pretty well now. So what I want to see is these 2 temperatures here getting up to close to the 500 degrees mark. Usually around that like 450 temperature it will start to regen. And this particulate, this one here, particulate matter amount, the grams per litre, that should start dropping once the temperature's up as well. So that's the plan. Okay, so here we go. I mean, I've got plenty of power now. So now that everything's driving well, I'm just going to do standard regen. So it's coolant temperature 75 degrees. It is well ventilated area. There's no flammable objects near the car. I will open the hood. Everything's turned off, electric windows, heaters, all the rest of it. Don't turn off the ignition, which I will not do. Replace the engine oil before carrying out the procedure. Use only recommended DPF oil. So the oil dilution hasn't been triggered yet, so I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I'll be doing that after the procedure. Carry out data resets after the procedure is finished. Coolant temperature satisfactory. Here we go. Let's
saying that it was stopped by one of the vehicle conditions every time, so let's see what the full conditions were again. So the coolant temperature's fine, well ventilated area's fine, the bonnet's opened. So weirdly it will not let me do this regen, it just keeps failing the procedure. So I'm just loading up dive zone, sorry. I couldn't do the resets with the snap-on Verus. It's actually pretty hopeless recently, it's struggling to do an awful lot of stuff. So I'm hoping once I reset the DPF counters on this with dive zone, this should give me full power back and it should let the regen complete itself. Right, I've just selected PCM out of the menu. We'll go into the special functions section. So special functions. And I mean, immediately I've got 5 or 6 different menus there that I don't have on a snap-on. So the data reset there. So let's just do this with ignition on. So reset the DPF values, turn ignition on. Operation successful, turn ignition off. Wait for 20 seconds. And now there's a separate DPF. So differential pressure sensor allows for the PCM to calculate the exhaust gas pressures. That's fine. So DPF regeneration. By neutral, start the engine. Coolant temperature's at least 70 degrees. Do I wish to continue? Yes. Conditions not correct. Fucking brilliant. I know what's happened here. So now that I've got all that reset, I should be able to reset the fault codes. So if I clear all these, it should take some time for this to recalculate the suit content, so it should let me start the regen procedure this time. Okay, DPF regen. I'm assuming that this is the oxycat. Well, it's taking a bit of time to heat up, but that is creeping up. 360, 361, 362. That should creep its way up to about 450. And once it reaches that 450 mark, that should be the exhaust regenerating. So as you can see, exhaust gas temperatures are well up into the regen temperatures. So I'd like that bank 1 sensor 2 to sit about 450. It is still creeping its way up there. Once it's sitting steadily about 450, we'll give it about 10 minutes. So annoyingly, the accumulation amount is set at 0 just now. I'm not sure if that's because the counters have been reset. But yeah, it doesn't give me much of an indication as to when the DPF is actually clear. So I'm just going from experience here, because if that exhaust is sitting up the 500 degrees mark around about there, there is no way that that can't be clearing itself. Then once I've done this, got this all back together again, I'm going to change the engine oil as well, because when you're doing the DPF regenerations, it's using excess diesel to heat the cat up, or the DPF up, and the fuel starts to pull and dilutes the oil. So I want to make sure that's all perfect as well before I give this back. So not got much. There's the battery. Last thing I'm going to do before I change the oil on it is just double check that we've not set any faults while I've been out on the last run. So I'm just going to go back to Old Faithful and use Diagzone. That's just too reliable and too easy to use. And if we go back in here again and we look at the DPF loading, or the particulate matter loading, PM accumulation amount, so the accumulation should be less than 0.2. That's 0.28, so should it go into a cleaning cycle again. So I think we'll just, next time we take it out for a spin, after I've done the oil, we'll just monitor these levels and we'll make sure that they're creeping up slightly and then dropping back down around that 0.2, which should be the DPF clear, I believe, or at its normal level of fill. Distance since last regen, 21 kilometres, perfect. And in the last 2 drive cycles I've done probably around about 60 miles, so that tells me that during those drive cycles the regenerations are happening. And since I reset all the DPF counters in the last video as well, number of DPF regens, 1, which is what I would expect. I wouldn't want any more than that. But this accumulation amount is going up ever so slightly, which again, it's at idle I would expect. So yeah, we'll change the oil on it, I'll get it out for a spin in the morning again, and we'll just double check all those parameters. And so in sitting at idle, we're getting like an almost 0. Good. Just going to read, make sure there's no fault codes. No fault codes. So after I've replaced the engine oil, I'm going to go back through in this special function section, do the remaining oil life, and that will change the, okay, it's automatically doing this just now, which isn't great, but I will do this again after it's had the oil change, just to make sure that all the intervals are going to be correct on this as well. So yeah, this was all done just before I done the regen, because it wouldn't let me do it unless I could reset all the parameters. But it's going to need an oil change now anyway, because it's successfully done the regen. So, yep, that'll be us. Get the oil change in the morning, take it out for a test, and say goodbye to it. Right, so I'm back with Mazda 6. Just got a quick oil change to do on it, now that everything's been sorted out with the DPF and the turbo. So, oil changed, filter changed, all the codes are all clear. Just need to take it one last run and we're all good.